Hi, and welcome to today's live video. I'm Dr. Achyutanishwar, and I'm the co-founder of nutritionscience.in and sampurnahara.com. Today, we have a very special guest with us, and we're going to be talking about a topic that's close to my heart. My father, Professor Krish Murali Eswar, will be joining us shortly. He's the director of IT in the World Community Service Center, and he's my inspiration to become a yoga and naturopathy physician. Today we're going to be talking about what does Ahimsa have to do with your health. Very interesting. First glance, it may seem like there's no relation between the two, but there are so many levels at which these two intersect, so many things that they have to do with each other. So please join me in welcoming Professor Krish Murali Eswar and my father, who's going to be the expert speaking about this topic today. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Whatever I'm done. Be blessed. Thank you for
Wonderful.
having me today in this call.
Thank you so much. So today we are speaking about what does ahimsa have to do with health. And to start that off, I'd like to ask you a question. What does ahimsa mean to you? What is the meaning behind it? How do we understand it? Because we know it's non-violence, but what all could that possibly be?
Any action, whether it is thought, word, or deed, that result in pain for self or others now or in the future, physically or mentally, is non-violence, ahimsa.
Wow, that's fantastic. That has so many levels to it. No, there are three different things that you spoke about. One is, of course, harm or physical or violence, physically or mentally, to us or others, now or in the future, right? And when you really analyze it from this lens, there are so many different things that you realize that you may not have thought of before, right? So when you talk about this long description, is it something that comes from the yoga practice that you've done all your life? Is it something that's from the yoga texts?
This is inspired by our Guru Yogiraj Sri Vedatri Maharishi. So he is the one who asked us to take a sangalpa, or an affirmation at the end of every meditation, that we should not hurt anyone in body, mind, or soul, and we should help those who are hurt. So this is a sankalpa that we take at the end of each of our meditation, every meditation of ours. So this is really indeed inspired by him. He taught us.
That's fantastic. So when you talk about not harming others, not harming yourself, and if you see any others in pain, doing your best to help, I can understand how that's a wonderful part of yoga, your inner journey, your personal journey, going within, discovering who you really are, becoming a better human being. But is there really a lot of it to do with health as such? I mean, how, in what different ways could it be related to your personal health as well?
Sure, I was born a vegetarian and I continue to live as a vegetarian. I lived for the first about 53, 54 years, eating all kinds of food that were termed vegetarian, but essentially some of it included some form of animal food, for instance, honey, which really comes from the insect honeybee, which is not really a plant-based food, although it eats the uh, from the flower, but it actually makes the honey in its mouth. So I used to eat some amount of honey, but a lot of milk products, which again milk products like curds and buttermilk and cheese and paneer and ghee. All of these come from um, cows, so uh, they are not really any plant-based product. They are animal products. So I used to eat all of them until you came along and you taught us that these are animal food and this is not healthy for us. So we shifted to plant-based diet. And now, of course, we have seen so much of health improvement in all of us, even though we have been vegetarian and avoiding animal-based products for all of our life, except, of course, the milk-based products and honey, which is strictly cannot be considered as plant-based products. Other than that, we were shifting now to the last 5 years, 6 years or so, shifted totally to whole food plant based diet thanks to your inspiration. We have seen things improve a lot. I had frozen shoulder because I was working and I still work in the computers for a long period of time, even though I've been doing my exercises for the last 34 years. Every morning I do my simplified yoga exercises taught to us by our guru, Yogira Sri Vedatri Maharishi. Yet I had frozen shoulders because you do exercises for about 30-40 minutes, but then rest of the day, 8 to 10 hours, you're in front of the computer and you have practically a frozen body, except your fingers are typing here and there. Other than that, your body is fairly stiff. So that led to my right shoulder being somewhat frozen. So I tried various exercises and massage, particularly naturopathic massage that you had a senior who came in and gave me that, but it didn't really work at all. It didn't really solve that problem. Then I shifted to the whole food plant based diet as recommended by you. And within about 10-15 days or so, the frozen shoulders went away. This is the first experience that I had. I'm talking about my personal experience. Of course, I've seen my wife recover, your mother recover from cancer. She had DUB, the dysfunctional uterine bleeding, and she recovered from that. And she did not have to go through the operation that the doctor otherwise recommended for her. My mother-in-law, your grandmother, recovered from cancer, recovered from diabetes. My father-in-law, your grandfather, recovered from high BP, was vomiting blood. So there's so many. Your sister, my second child, first daughter, she was told that she could never have a child because um, she had, I think, some issue with her reproductive system, and you helped her to recover from that with the whole food plant based diet. Each one of this to me is an eye opener, is a miracle. But going by my own experience, the first one was the frozen shoulders. The other one was when I was down with the fever. Um, you suspected it of dengue, or was it something else? Do you remember what the fever was?
I think it was dengue or chikungunya, if I remember.
Yeah, I think it was this chikungunya season at that time. So you suspected it of chikungunya, but then 4 days of fasting, and I was perfectly normal. My fever came down from 104, 105 to normalcy. I took a flight from Bangalore to go to Delhi and attended a 5 day workshop. And right through the 5 day workshop, I was on fruit fasting. I was on total fasting for 4 5 days before I left for Delhi. And during my trip in Delhi, 5 days of workshop, I was on fruit fasting, and I had some juices and I had some fruits, and I survived. And I came back and I was perfectly normal. Another miracle to me. So I'm never used to recovering. Of course, my health is such that due to long hours of meditation and yoga practice for the last 35 years or so, I would normally recover fairly quickly. But remember that I am a person uh, who survived primary complex when I was just about 7 or 8, 9 years old or so. Was bedridden for 6 months. I had to be given injection every day. I had very high eosinophil count, and I had wheezing problem. I had breathing trouble. All that I had. So my body had undergone a lot of trauma, so to say, due to various kind of conditions that I had, and particularly this eosinophil count and allergy reactions. And I studied in Coimbatore, which is known for its allergic weather with pollens from various weeds and things like that. Then again in Bangalore, which is not a very conducive weather for an allergic person like me. So I overcame all of that, and now I have no traces of any of those problems. Is clearly thanks to the lifestyle that I'm undergoing for the last 6 years, and the yoga practice and the meditation that I've been having for the last 35 years.
That's fantastic. That's ahimsa on so many different levels. Now, they, we all feel that when we start doing good, we receive good, and this is such a fantastic example of that. And for those who are watching our channel for the first time, a plant-based diet or a vegan diet is one that has zero animal products in it. It is one which is completely based on whole plant foods. And there's a slight difference between this also that I'd like to share before we move on to the next question. That is, a vegan diet or a vegan lifestyle rather is one where you consciously avoid causing harm to animals as a part of this ahimsa that we follow as a family. So it's not only consuming, not only avoiding consumption of meat, fish, eggs, and dairy products, but you also avoid using animals for any other purpose, like breeding or horse racing or silk or leather, any animal products in any form. On the other hand, a whole food plant-based diet is one where you consume unprocessed whole plant foods and avoid both animal foods and processed foods simply because this is the healthiest diet for human beings today. What does the two do with each other? Not much actually, except that they overlap largely. So an ahimsa diet or vegan diet where you don't harm other animals also means you don't harm yourself. Right? So avoiding animal foods is great for your own health also because animal foods are unhealthy for us. And a whole food plant-based diet also happens to be without animal food. So a huge amount of overlap. And that's how, when you practice ahimsa in your life, it's not only great for the animals, it's also great for you. And that brings us to our next question. How do we practice ahimsa when it comes to our food habits? And I'd like to ask this as our next question.
Yeah, I think you have defined it already. It's about not hurting. So there are two, I will say maybe three forms of hurting. One is hurting an animal which has only one body, or a life form that has only one body, and you destroy or you remove the right to live for that animal. For instance, killing a chicken and eating, a very straightforward problem. Um, so one must avoid, therefore, animal food that hurts the animal and removes the right to live. Uh, Whether it removes the right to live is one element, one part of that hurting. Another part is removing a portion of the body that disables that animal forever is also not right. That's something that very rarely happens for food, but it happens for cosmetic and some kind of smuggling activity. For example, removing the tusk from an elephant happens quite often. We hear that quite often. So we should, for food purposes, of course, removing the right or destroying the right to live for an animal is fundamentally wrong. It's something that is against the righteousness principles of human living. See, look, we are born with goodness inside us. We can choose not to hurt. So, therefore, non hurting life form is something that is a choice that we are capable of making, and we must make that choice. The second one is by removing parts of the body of a living being that are in abundance in nature. For instance, leaves, roots, fruits, vegetables, seeds. These are in nuts. These are abundant in a plant. It is like cutting a nail. It is like cutting hair from a human being. It is not thoroughly and totally destroying the right of life to a plant, for a plant.
Something that
It
doesn't
is,
cause any pain or harm, right?
it probably causes some pain which we don't understand, but it doesn't really cause the kind of pain that an animal undergoes. We don't know what really happens when we pluck a plant, pluck a leaf from a plant. But at least it is not destroying the life of, destroying the right to live for a plant. It is also hopefully not going to kill the plant. Okay. So there are forms of growing a plant, the forms of harvesting a plant that can make the plant thrive even when we remove parts of the body of a plant to for us to survive. So why would nature provide so many leaves and so many fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and roots for a plant, unless it is meant for us to survive? Because we can actually take them, sustainably harvest them. That means we should not kill that plant, we should make it thrive. There are of course life spans for the plants, and when we know that certain plants we cannot just eat them by just removing the leaves. For instance, greens, palak, methi, for instance, coriander, for instance, and things like that, pudina. So you have to remove them from the roots sometimes to cook and eat. But when you do that, try and farm, plant more of the same family before removing them. So if you remove one plant, try and plant or farm, garden more of the same plant, say 10 of them or 3 of them, so that it grows in abundance. So this is the second form of doing it, and the form of doing it also bless the plant, because there is no other way by which human beings can survive. In the form of eating, we must somehow try and minimize the pain that we can cause for other life forms and the environment. Therefore, if the farming is done in a natural basis, preferably in a zero based natural farming method, then there are no chemicals used, and these are naturally grown, and you can harvest them, use them in a sustainable fashion, use it in a way that the farmer is also protected. So, source it from a company like Farm Fresh Bangalore, which is run by Nalini, which ensures that the farm produce comes from zero budget natural farmers and it's sustainably harvested. And they also thrive in the process. I have been to many of those farms. It's wonderful to see how the farms, the plants thrive in such an environment. It's lovely to know that Sampurna Ahara is sourcing farm produce from Farm Fresh Bangalore, from sustainable farmers. Then there is a third form of ahimsa which we do to ourselves, or which we can do to ourselves. We can practice that form to protect our health, is to preserve the nutrients of those plant-based produce in a way that its composition is not altered sufficiently to hurt us. That's what you are talking about as whole food, and you are giving two parameters for that, if I understand it right. One is the what is available in nature should not be good, should not be removed. Something good should not be removed, should be preserved in that particular plant. Number two, as a criteria is something bad should not be added to that. For instance, frying a potato in oil is bad because something bad is getting added to that. Oil is getting added to it, which is not healthy. So, if you follow these three principles of not removing the right of life, right of living for a life form in the process of us surviving for food, to survive by eating food. Second is by minimizing the pain caused for the plants and the plant kingdom by sustainably harvesting zero-based natural farm produce. Third, by not altering the form of nature given gift to us, by overcooking it or by adding bad things and removing bad things from it. If we follow these three principles, I believe that we are close to God. We are close. That's how we are given the choice. We exercise our right of discrimination. We choose right. We avoid wrong in the process. I believe that's what we should be doing.
That's so fantastic. You spoke about being closer to God, and that exact phrase is itself a part of our traditional food habits. No, for upavasa literally means being closer to the divine state. The more you move away from animal foods, the more you move away from processed foods, and move towards a natural diet. Say only fruits, only vegetables, just juices, just water. The more closer you're able to move to your divine state, the better your mental faculties run, and the more you're able to go within yourself. That's so lovely. So we've understood that now ahimsa being applied to our food habits not only helps the animals, it also helps us to stay healthy because of a significant overlap between an ahimsa or a vegan diet and a whole food plant-based diet. And this may be the most important component of our long-term health. But there is another component that's quite significantly influenced by the scope of ahimsa, and that's our relationships. So I'd like to ask my next question. How do you apply ahimsa in your relationships? Whether it's your family, your friends, your co-workers. There's so many times during every single day when we expect someone to do something, they don't do it, or someone is just irritating to us, or someone is actively going out of their way to stop something that we're trying to do. So many frustrating situations in our daily life. How do we get ourselves to apply ahimsa in those relationships and therefore improve our mental?
The rule is simple. Every action of ours, whether it is word or deed, is preceded by a thought. Except, of course, impulsive action. The child goes and touches fire impulsively, the child will pull its hand back. So that's an impulsive action. Other than those actions, every action is preceded by a thought. Therefore, whether an action causes pain or pleasure, peace or ecstasy, there are only four results for every action that we can have: pain, pleasure, peace, ecstasy. Now, if you select thoughts that will not result in pain for self or others, for me or others, now or in the future, at present or in the future, physically or mentally, that is a ahimsa action. That is an ahimsa way of living, the ahimsa thinking process. It has to begin with that. Our thought force is governed by need. I'm hungry, I want to eat. Habit. I'm always used to eating in this particular Veena store in Malleshwaram, so I have to go to that place to eat. Then others imposition. I go with my friends, and the friends say, "Okay, why don't you eat this? Yeah, it's okay. One day you eat. Here doesn't matter." Then environmental condition. I go to a mall, everybody's eating. I also feel like eating. Okay. Then genetic. My father is used to eating this. My mother, for instance, never used to eating fruits. So Even today, I'm allergic to certain fruits, mentally allergic. Physically, I'm not allergic. For sitapal, for instance. For the life of me, I don't think I'll be able to eat it because my mother hated it, so I hate it. So this is it's just in the genes, in the genetics. Then there are divine forces, the divine thoughts. I want to remain healthy because I want to do good for the world. So that inspires me to want to eat well. I have a vision of myself when I become 80 years old. I'm 60. I'm almost going to be 58 today, in this year, and I want to live till 80, and I want to be able to live healthily, and I want to be able to serve the society till that time. I don't want to become a dependent on somebody else. I don't want to have a walking stick and a crutch and things like that. I want to be able to ably have a able body, do my own work myself. So to be able to do that today, I have to eat well. So I have to follow whatever I need to follow. So every action of mine must be moralized at the thought level. What is morality? Again, ahimsa is the moral way of living. So if I base my thoughts on non hurting as a principle, then I can create a future which is harmonious for myself within, that is my body and my spirit within me, and me and other people in the society, namely my son, my daughters, my wife, my relatives, my sisters, brothers, my father, and friends and colleagues, and things like that. And for between myself and the society at large, namely the environment, the country, the state, the city, and so on and so forth. And the universal force. There is an infinite, invisible magnetic force that is binding us. For instance, it's a miracle that my body still remains as an integrated fashion. I have no idea how the body remains in an integrity, in an integrated fashion until I die. The moment I die, the body disintegrates and it becomes one with the earth. So there is a glue, there is a magnetic glue that binds, there is a fevicol kind of a thing that binds our cells together. So I have to remain harmonious between myself and my habits, that is, and that invisible force. So knowledge, wisdom, experience, all of this teaches us how to remind that. So how do I remain non-violent in the way I think, I speak, and I act? Is something that I need to constantly question myself. Aditi, your sister, my last daughter, has taught us a beautiful mechanism of communicating with each other in the form of non-violent communication. So we must become an exponent, a practitioner of nonviolent communication, which I am beginning to practice more consciously nowadays, in the way I write emails or send messages or in the way I talk to people. Will my words cause pain for others or me now or in the future, physically or mentally? A lot of my problems in the past had originated from my words. So I speak something because I feel like telling the truth. I feel like speaking my heart out in the pretext that I have to tell what I feel. I may have hurt many people inadvertently, and that can destroy relationship. People will forget the pain or the injury caused by a knife, but they will not forget the injury caused by words. They will remember that forever in life. So I'm realizing these facts, that we must begin with what words we are using. Again, why are we using the words we are using? It's because we believe in something. We believe in communicating in a particular way. So again, it goes back to the thoughts. certain actions, certain ways of doing things, certain mannerisms, certain idiosyncrasies can also cause pain for others. So we must constantly remain aware and conscious of such behaviors and try and adjust, tolerate, and sacrifice. So, adjustment, tolerance, and sacrifice are the three characteristics. When I follow in my life, I find that it builds harmony with the people I live with. For instance, you know that we live in a joint family, and there are at least 13 people in my house, in the house in which my wife and I, your mother and I stay. And at any given point of time during the day and in the night, there are about 8 people who live in the house, and there are 3 bedrooms. So my father uses one room, my father-in-law, mother-in-law use one room, my sister-in-law and her family use one room. Where do we sleep? We sleep on the floor in the hall, and that is perfectly fine by us. We are happy because it's good to sleep on the floor, with, of course, a thin mat. We lie down and we sleep. It's good for our back. It doesn't cause us pain. We're happy to do that. But hall is a hall. It's a public place, and the whole house has to go to bed before we can actually go to bed. And we love to wake up in the morning and meditate, and the whole house wakes up by 7 o'clock. So before that, we should finish our exercises, finish our meditation. Otherwise, the maid will come, the whole house will wake up, there'll be noise, you can't meditate. So you have to adjust. And that creates, and it's a beautiful thing to practice these things and create harmony. I'm just giving you a small example as to how adjustment, tolerance, and sacrifice can provide great harmony. And it's not something that is painful, it's pleasure, it's happiness, it's peace. When everybody is at peace in the house, you are at your best, you are at your most productive self. So when everybody is healthy, you are productive. If in a joint family, if people are not healthy, it creates problem. If people have conflicts with each other, it creates problem. Why conflicts happen? Expectations. So remove the expectation, drop it one by one by one by one, find out where the conflicts are arising, get rid of them systematically by practicing introspection, remaining in silence, questioning every thought, and getting rid of the thought or negative thinking that hurts others, and replacing them with positive thinking. You can certainly maintain harmony in relationship, and that the basis of all of this is ahimsa, non-hurting.
Took us through an entire journey of the way the mind works, the way you relate to others, how you communicate with them, how you feel, how you think, and how so many different ways are there to improve relationships through nonviolent communication, through nonviolent thinking using ahimsa. But there is one more aspect to this, something that most people don't talk about, something that gets ignored quite often, that I think it's very, very important to address. So we spoke about ahimsa in food habits, ahimsa in relationships. But what about ahimsa with respect to ourselves? There are so many people who say, okay, I want to help that person, I'll do this for them. But then when they think about the same thing for themselves, it takes second priority. So how do we work on this? How can we apply ahimsa to ourselves?
One must understand that the duty begins with duty to oneself. The body is not yours, it belongs to the society. The society has clothed it, it has fed it, it has protected it, has given it a shelter, it has given it the education that it requires, providing the health care that it requires, providing all the comforts that the body requires at any given point of time. So it is our primary duty to keep this machine a well maintained machine. So doing exercises therefore is my first priority in life. You have seen this, you have watched me never falter with my exercise for 34 years now since I learned it. I would have probably missed it for about 20, 30 days in my life, maybe 2, 3 months in my life, over a period of time. So maybe when I was down with chikungunya for 4 days, I did not do the entire set of exercises. I would have still done my breathing exercise by that time. I would have done Maharasana, for instance. So there are some exercises that I might not have been able to do, but those are very few days, handful of days. You can count by the number of days. Why do I do it? Because I feel energetic. Yeah, I feel good. I feel productive. I feel nice. I feel fine. I don't feel heavy. I feel fine. I feel like flying. So I can do a lot more. I can succeed in being productive and achieve a lot more during the course of the day. So when you enjoy good health, you want to preserve it. You want to protect it. So you deserve good health. You deserve uh, the feeling of fineness, feeling of productive, being productive, and so on and so forth. So it begins with the duty to self. It's a matter of just, I believe, 10, 15 days of joining hands with like-minded souls and practicing whatever form of physical exercise that you like. You want to go for a walk, go for a walk for 1.5 hours or so. You want to do light gym, you can do. Whatever is the form of exercise that you do that. What I do is 7 into 7 sets of simplified physical exercise, systematized and given to us by our guru, Yogiraj Shri Vedatri Maharishi. The secret of my energy is my exercises, and I become a lot healthier person today than I was before, thanks to these exercises as the number one reason for my health. The second thing is my mind. Um, Look, the mind doesn't have any shape or form or color, or it doesn't, it's like rainwater, okay? It falls on this soil and it takes the qualities of the soil that it touches. So, what do I think of? I become that. What I think, I am. So, what do I want to be? I don't know uh, what I have done before this birth. Was there a previous birth? I have no idea. Will I have a rebirth? I have no idea. Logic tells me that I have only one birth, but then people believe in various other things. Doesn't matter. But indeed, I have inherited certain imprints from my father, mother, perhaps from their father, mother, and so from the animal species to today. I have inherited certain imprints. So I have some of those imprints that I need to resolve, that I need to get rid of. So cleansing my genetic center also becomes my priority. I may have been a short tempered person. That's maybe because somebody else in the past may have been short tempered and I have inherited that character in me. But that's not an excuse for me to live with short temperedness for the rest of my life. I must work hard to get rid of anger. How do I get rid of anger? I can only prevent it. Once I get angry, I cannot do anything about it. I can't count from 1 to 50 or reverse from 50 to 1, and I can't look at the mirror and things like that. It is silly, such practices. So I must only prevent before I get angry. Even when I'm calm and peaceful, I must identify with whom do I get angry, why do I get angry, what is my contribution to that anger, what is the reason behind that anger, what are the side effects to that anger, can I achieve my expectation without getting angry? And then take that method, say humor, friendship, kindness, compassion. These are all methods by which I can achieve the same result that I'm aiming for without getting angry. I have never been able to change anybody's behavior with anger. I have not been able to achieve anything great with my anger, and therefore I can use humor, friendship, kindness, compassion, blessings, forgiveness, etc., are fantastic tools to achieve the same result that I'm aiming to achieve through my anger. So I must take it as my responsibility in my life not to get angry because I get hurt the most. Likewise, worries,
Sorry,
stress.
I'll just interrupt you there. I think there was a connection issue. The last we heard was when you said having a short temper is not an excuse to continue getting angry. And when you started explaining about how to prevent getting angry, we lost your connection. Could you share again from that point?
Sure. The way to prevent anger is to list down with whom do I get angry, what are the reasons I get angry, and for each reason, what is my contribution, and what is that primary expectation that has led me to use the tool as anger, and what are the ill effects and the results of getting angry, who gets hurt first, physically, mentally, and who are the other people who get hurt in the process as side effects of this anger. And then come to an analysis as to how you can achieve the same result that you are hoping to achieve through anger without anger. Supposing, let us say, I want to change the behavior of someone. Let us assume that I want someone whom I love very much to want to wake up in the morning and do that person's exercises every day or meditate every day with me. Then what is the point in me getting angry with that person? It's not going to achieve any. It may appear to achieve results for 2 3 days time, 1 week, but a week later they will go back to being themselves. So it's silly for me to get angry for that reason. Instead, I analyze, I introspect, I find, I come up with a clever solution. Aha, the reason why the person is not able to do the exercises is the person is very busy in the morning. So what if I take up some portion of the work or even wake up very early in the morning and show to that person, look, I'm available for you to meditate with me if you want me to meditate with you, and let's collaborate, let's be friends, I will help you, let's both together sit and exercise and meditate. That I have found it to give me lot more beneficial results than anger, because I have realized that anger, when I get angry, I am the first person who gets hurt. My blood pressure shoots up, my heart rate goes up, palpitation comes, my eyes become red, my breathing becomes very heavy, my breath also becomes hot, my brain wave goes for a very high frequency, I don't remain calm, I don't remain peaceful. I shake in my body. I get into some kind of a nervous reactions. So I hurt myself in so many ways. And then I hurt other people also. And then I think back and I say, oh my God, why did I hurt so much? And I feel so bad about myself. So I've gone through these reactions and now I work very hard on not trying to get angry at all with myself or with others because I don't want to hurt myself. This is very fundamental to every human being. We are all hardwired in our brain not to want to cause pain for us or others. Likewise, worries. We must get rid of worries by categorizing them and neutralizing them and eradicating them from our system because worry is soul suicide. It's a disease.
So many different things that we need to think about, and so many things that goes up so deeply into our psyche, into the kind of personality that we have, into our character. Perhaps, as you said, the imprints that will lead for such a long time. Could you please share some resources where people can go to access the exercises, the practices that you spoke about, where they can learn it themselves and practice it in their daily life? We spoke about a healthier diet, and that's available on nutritionscience.in. We have a free plant-based kickstart course with over 200 different recipes that are 100% vegan and whole food plant-based. So, and it's a free course, so please check that out. There is also sampurnahara.com, which is a whole food plant-based social enterprise where you can get vegan whole food plant-based meals and cakes and cookies and snacks and sweets home delivered in Bangalore and in most parts of India as well. Could you share where people can access the other things that you spoke about, meditation, the introspection practices. Where can we learn more about this and perhaps even get in touch with you if they have any questions?
The best resource is vedatri.edu.in. You can go to this website, look for a Sky Yoga Center, Simplified Kundalini Yoga Center nearby. There are around 2,500 centers worldwide. Contact a Sky Yoga master near you and go and meet that person. Learn Simplified Kundalini Yoga as a meditation practice. They also will teach you the simplified physical exercises. Then there are introspection exercises in 5 different levels. You can learn them in just 2 sessions, 2 different visits to the center, that is, and you can start practicing. Within about a few days, you will become reasonably proficient in all these methods and processes, and continual support is available through online. For instance, we have a early morning 5:15 meditation. It's the meditation link is available in vedatri.edu.in. Feel free to join. We can't initiate you over online, but so you need to go to a center to physically get initiated. But once you get initiated, you can certainly practice online.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for taking the time to spend it here with us today. We had so many valuable insights that we've shared in today's video about so many different things, all related to what Ahimsa has got to do with your health, both physical health and mental health, and your overall lifestyle as well. We hope you found this video useful, and we look forward to having you with us. If you found it useful, please feel free to like this video. You can share it with your friends, with your family, with anyone who may benefit. And you can subscribe to this channel below. And we have all of the links that we spoke about in the description of this video. I hope you find that useful as well. Hope you have a great day ahead. We look forward to meeting you tomorrow. Be blessed.
Whatever. Be blessed.